Thinking about your drinking. If you drink alcoholic beverages, even occasionally, you need to know the facts about alcoholism. The American Medical Association and World Health Organization declared alcoholism a disease over 50 years ago. Alcoholism is not a psychiatric illness, and it is not a psychological problem. Alcoholism is also not a willpower problem. It is not a character issue, and it isn't learned. Alcoholism is a recognized medical illness acquired by those susceptible to it, who begin drinking for the same reasons as most people do. Alcohol is a drug, and susceptibility to alcohol addiction has strong hereditary factors that have been extensively researched. If you have alcoholism in your family and you drink alcohol, your risk of acquiring alcoholism is significantly higher than that of other people who have no family history of alcoholism. Not everyone who drinks alcohol becomes an alcoholic. It affects about 1 in 10 drinkers in the United States. Alcoholism is not an equal opportunity illness. Some people who drink will never experience problems with alcohol, while others will drink alcoholically almost immediately. Hundreds of studies have demonstrated a family biological link and susceptibility for alcoholism. Many studies have shown that the child of an alcoholic parent, even if adopted into a non-drinking home, will later in life have a dramatically increased risk of acquiring alcoholism if he or she drinks. Understanding alcoholism, who becomes alcoholic and why, and how to best treat it have been the subject of political, religious, psychological, and medical debate for centuries. This has contributed to significant confusion about alcoholism. Although it isn't possible to predict who will become an alcoholic, understanding the illness provides a better chance of spotting symptoms earlier. Like most chronic illnesses, this increases the likelihood of the person accepting treatment earlier. It's a myth that rock bottom must come first. More often, fear is what prompts or facilitates alcoholics to accept help or treatment. Fear of harm or death, fear of job loss, fear of losing a relationship, fear of hurting someone, or indeed fear of hitting rock bottom, whatever that might mean. As the disease of alcoholism progresses, self-diagnosis, the ability to see that you have symptoms of it, becomes more difficult. Misinformation and social stigma contribute to denial, the hallmark of the disease. In turn, denial interferes with this self-diagnostic process. The definition of alcoholism. According to the leading medical authority on alcoholism, the American Society of Addiction Medicine, alcoholism is a primary chronic disease with genetic, psychosocial, and environmental factors influencing its development and manifestations. The disease is chronic, progressive, and often fatal. Chronic means ongoing, and progressive means it gets worse over time. Fatal means the illness itself leads to death or something associated with drinking leads to death, an accident, health problems, or other incident. Alcoholism is not fixable or curable. There is no ability to return to pre-alcoholic, safe, and normal social drinking practices. However, the illness can be arrested or halted by ceasing the consumption of alcohol and use of mood-altering substances. Doing this is difficult without a structured approach that offers an ongoing program to stay abstinent and in recovery. Drugs of abuse, mood-altering and addictive substances pose a risk for making alcoholism worse. Alcoholics in recovery can easily relapse and are considered to have relapsed if they substitute another psychoactive drug for alcohol to affect their mood. Alcoholism is characterized by continual or periodic impaired control over drinking, preoccupation with alcohol, use of alcohol despite adverse consequences, and distortions in thinking, most notably denial. It is a falsehood to believe that calling alcoholism a disease eliminates the responsibility alcoholics have for their problems. Alcoholics are responsible for the consequences of their behavior, and as with any disease, are responsible for seeking treatment when symptoms of the illness become evident. This is the goal of intervention. When considering the definition of alcoholism, many people focus on the symptoms that they do not have more than the ones they do have. Unlike cancer, where any symptom could cause alarm, symptoms of alcoholism often get ignored if other symptoms can be shown to not exist. This process is sometimes called comparing out of the definition, and it is a natural part of denial. Here's one way of understanding denial. Alcoholics usually maintain a definition of alcoholism that serves to exclude them. Alcoholics usually focus on symptoms of addiction that they do not have and use this information to avoid their self-diagnosis. Alcoholics then change their definition over time to exclude symptoms that they begin to experience. Although in denial, most people with alcoholism have some awareness, however slight, that there is a connection between problems in their lives and drinking. This makes it possible to conduct an assessment with an alcoholic and often motivate them to accept help through accurate and convincing information about the disease that challenges their long-held misconceptions. Have you heard or used the term functional alcoholic? This is a common expression that enables alcoholic denial by putting the focus on behavior rather than the disease. Often used by friends or coworkers, it serves to dismiss the severity of the diagnosis. There is no such thing as functional cancer, and there is no such thing as functional alcoholism. Here's a one-question quiz to help you decide whether you need a more complete evaluation to examine your alcohol use and to rule out the diagnosis. Ready for the question? Have you ever seriously wondered whether you possibly have a drinking problem or are an alcoholic? The emphasis is on the word seriously. If the answer to the question is either yes or no, consider getting a screening to rule out the diagnosis of alcoholism. Why? Social drinkers, those who drink but do not have alcoholism, do not seriously consider this question. There are many research-tested and reliable screening tests and interview questions used by professional counselors to help clients or patients more closely examine their drinking experiences. Since denial is a roadblock to treatment, those who drink should participate in screenings to detect alcoholism like other chronic diseases. These experiences include memory loss while drinking, stops or arrests for driving under the influence, being injured or close calls while drinking, conflicts with family members about drinking, losing time from work directly or indirectly as a result of drinking, drinking at work or drinking outside of work to feel more functional or stop a tremulous feeling associated with withdrawal. Other questions may examine promises to cut back that fail, attempts to quit that don't last, calming one's nerves in the morning with a drink, tremulousness after drinking, feeling guilty about your drinking, sleep disturbances. Detection of alcoholism can also be discovered by tests that measure harm to the liver. Knowledgeable physicians can rely upon these tests to identify pathologic organ changes that result from consuming alcohol too frequently. Alcoholism, remember, is a physical disease. Damage to the liver as a result of drinking is an additional way of helping spot the evidence and progress of the illness. But what about early-stage symptoms of alcoholism? One of the earliest indications of potential or future alcoholism is increasing tolerance to alcohol. Relative to body weight, the drinker discovers that he or she can drink more than peers without feeling alcohol's effects. One of the dangers of increasing tolerance is consuming too much because you do not feel alcohol's effects. Others may urge you to do the driving because you're the one who looks fine at the end of the party. However, because of high tolerance, you could be the one with the higher blood alcohol content. People with high tolerance may think they are lucky for being efficient drinkers. They may unwittingly continue with this pattern for years as dependency and denial become increasingly severe. When life problems ensue, the alcoholic typically blames stress or people, places, or things for drinking problems. Well-honed defensiveness may convince others that their view is the correct one.